Hey, Donny Walker here. Had a fellow from down in Iowa sending me some messages. I call him the 394 guy. That's what he's in my phone as. How you doing, bud? So anyways, I was trying to explain to him, like, when you have an old cylinder that's had a bit of a scuff piston or a war piston, and you're going to install a new piston into a cylinder, you want to make sure your cylinder is in good shape. This is a 394 cylinder, same as his. You can see it's got a little bit of a crosshatch still, and no aluminum stuck to it or anything like that. It's in good shape. It's got a fin or two missing on the top, but no big deal. It'll still work good. I'm going to build this for a saw for milling for myself. So what I use are these flexible hones, what they call brake hones or flex stone hones. This thing's about 2 inches, long, 2.5 inches long maybe. And I get them in different millimeter sizes for different bore sizes or inches. You want one that's just slightly bigger than your bore size, not much though, and put it on your drill with some solvent or some sort of oil or something, sun and honing oil if you got it, but most people don't. Just run this in back and forth. You got to remember, these are chrome lined cylinders. They're not cast iron. Some really old saws years ago were cast iron cylinders, so you'd be able to actually bore it out and install a bigger piston. But not on these. All saws these days are chrome lined cylinders. You can see some cool stuff that Dyno Joe does, making sleeves and putting bigger pistons in, but I wish I had time to mess around like that, Joe, but I'm too busy doing production saws and keeping busy with stuff. So right on for you though. There's some cool builds he's been doing if you watch Dyno Joe's channel. Anyways, back to the 394. So then what you want to do, even if you don't have one of these, you could take some some emery cloth. I got this strip paper that I use for polishing. You can just take a piece like this and work it in the cylinder, up and down and around the sides, just to get all the kind of glazing off and any little edges that are in there from the previous piston that was damaged. Okay, you see what I mean? You just use simple like that. You can actually get some hones where you have three pieces to it, and you put 3 pieces like this on it, and you use it as a hone. I got one of those at work. It's an old Snap-on cylinder hone system. So after you get that cleaned up and you know it's going to be okay, take your piston, take the rings off, and make sure the piston's sliding up and down in there okay with no obstructions or edges that are making it stick. It should just fall right in like that. Hear it drop in, right? Just make sure that's good, and it's not too tight or too loose. If it's new, then it should be the right spec if you've ordered the right one. Porting on 394s, yeah, I've done a lot of them years ago. I don't do too many of that now. What I would do is on the bottom of the transfers here, I would cut the transfers out, just lift down a bit, just to get a little more case match to the case for the flow for the transfers. Do that on each side. I can show you with a pen. Just take your time if you got a Dremel with some cutter bits, or me, I have the best ones going, so it doesn't take me long. Kind of just cut that out, up there. Take the side down a bit. Just watch your gasket surface, so don't wreck your gasket surface. You don't want to suck air. Intake, I used to lower them just a tad, not a lot. I like to keep the torque in these saws. I don't need a lot of top end. They got good bottom end. The exhaust port, I also would raise and widen just a tad. Roughly, I don't know, 10th hour or something. Hard to say. I got some jigs made, but if you don't have the stuff, then don't port it. You're going to be dealing with an aftermarket piston anyways to the fellow I'm showing this for. So you're not going to get that much more out of it. You'll get some out of it, but I think maybe you should just leave it alone. Just make sure you get a new gasket. and the cylinder is in good shape, and you got that new piston. So if the piston doesn't come with the gasket, make sure you get a new one. Then also make sure your intake gaskets are good. This one's really important, where your pulse hole is. And there's something else that someone asked me to talk about on pulse systems. 394s have an internal hole right here. That's your pulse for your carburetor. 395s have a little spigot here with a hose that goes to the top of the carburetor. Pulse holes are very important. Make sure you don't have a gasket blocking that hole or glue. And then this will go through the insulator block, the carb spacer, and then you'll have your another gasket between the carburetor and it, and just make sure that hole lines up all the way. If you're not sure your pulse is working, what you can do, when the saw's together and the intake's not on it, put a little bit of oil in that hole. Pull it over and the oil should shoot out. So that means it's pulsing. Lots of different types of ways for pulse, but that's your most common way in older saws. Just like this old Tillotson carburetor off a Mac. And there's a little pulse hole right there on it. So hopefully that explains it. Like I say, if you don't have one of these, or your local shop don't have these, just use the sandpaper method like I said there. Just make sure it's clean and whatnot. Clean it out. I wash my cylinders out with brake clean afterwards, so there's no debris in it, no oil or no grit in it. So that's what you need to do. Yep, that's about all there is to it. I have lots of different sizes of these for every different bore size. And remember, I'm not boring them out. I'm just honing them. It's like doing a brake cylinder on cars. You're cleaning up that bore for the new seals to seal right. In this case, you're cleaning the bore for the new rings to seal right. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you, bud. Like I say, if you don't have the tooling and right stuff to do your own porting, just don't even bother. Just build that thing right, so it'll get you out there working, and it should last good. Run good oil, good gas, and hopefully you'll be okay with it. Hopefully that carburetor will work good too. I am going to do an video on that carburetor, on those wall burls and 394s that I told you before, how the needle and seats move inside them, which they shouldn't, but they a lot of them, the seats move down, so you don't have enough pressure to open that metering diaphragm because it's too far for the needle to move. So you either had to go with a new carburetor or a fix that I've done on some of them, and I'll show you that another time. So anyways, hopefully that helps you out. It's Friday, TGIF. Have a great weekend. It's almost the end of summer. Enjoy the rest of summer. Keep your saw in the wood, stick in the ice, rev on the road. Check out the WalkerSawShop.com online store. Have a great weekend. Bye.